What if you possessed a voice so beautiful it could move stones to tears, bend trees to listen, and make wild beasts lie down in peace? What if that same gift could open the very gates of death itself? Today, we're diving into one of Greek mythology's most heartbreaking tales, the story of Orpheus and Eurydice, where the power of love meets the cruelty of fate. In ancient Greece, around the 8th century BCE, stories weren't just entertainment. They were lessons wrapped in wonder, teaching about the human condition through tales of gods and heroes. The Greeks believed that music held divine power, capable of influencing both mortals and immortals. This belief would become central to our tragic tale. Orpheus wasn't just any musician. He was the son of Apollo, god of music and poetry, and Calliope, the muse of epic poetry. From birth, he possessed a lyre crafted by the gods themselves. When Orpheus played, rivers changed their course to hear him better. Mountains leaned in to catch every note. Even the gods on Mount Olympus would pause their eternal squabbles to listen. But divine gifts often come with divine curses. Orpheus's music could charm anyone and anything. Yet it couldn't fill the emptiness in his own heart. He wandered through Thrace, in northern Greece, sharing his gift but finding no true companion who could understand the depth of his artistic soul. Then he met Eurydice. She was a wood nymph, a dryad, who danced through the forests of Thrace like sunlight through leaves. When Orpheus first saw her, his music stopped mid-note. For the first time in his life, he found something more beautiful than his own melodies. Eurydice, too, was captivated. She'd heard countless songs from countless suitors, but Orpheus's music spoke directly to her spirit. Their love story began like a perfect symphony. Orpheus would play, and Eurydice would dance. The forest itself celebrated their union. Birds sang harmonies to his melodies. Flowers bloomed in their footsteps. Even the notoriously jealous gods smiled upon their happiness. They married in a ceremony that legends say was attended by all of nature. The sun shone brighter that day. The wind carried their vows to every corner of the earth. For a brief, shining moment, it seemed that love had conquered all the darkness in the world. But, in Greek mythology, perfect happiness is always temporary. On their wedding day, as Eurydice danced through a meadow with her fellow nymphs, disaster struck. Aristaeus, a minor god obsessed with Eurydice's beauty, pursued her through the grass. In her desperate flight, she stepped on a venomous snake hidden in the flowers. The serpent's bite was swift and merciless. Poison coursed through Eurydice's divine blood. As Orpheus rushed to her side, her life was already fading. She whispered his name once, then twice, then fell silent forever. The music of the world seemed to die with her. Orpheus's grief was so profound that his lyre wept actual tears. His songs became lamentations that made grown men weep and caused flowers to wither. The sun hid behind clouds for days. Even Zeus, the king of gods, felt moved by such sorrow. But Orpheus refused to accept fate's cruel verdict. If his music could move stones and tame wild beasts, surely it could move the hearts of the dead. He made a decision that no mortal had ever dared. He would descend into the underworld and bring Eurydice back. The entrance to Hades lay in a cave near Lake Avernus in southern Italy. As Orpheus descended, his music preceded him like a divine herald. The three-headed dog Cerberus, guardian of the underworld's gates, lay down and whimpered like a puppy. The ferryman Charon, who usually demanded payment for passage across the river Styx, was so moved that he poled Orpheus across for free. Deeper into the realm of the dead, Orpheus traveled. The Furies, those terrifying goddesses of vengeance, stopped their eternal torments to listen. King Tantalus, cursed to eternal hunger and thirst, forgot his suffering for a moment. Sisyphus, condemned to push his boulder up a mountain for eternity, sat down and rested. Finally, Orpheus reached the throne room of Hades and Persephone, king and queen of the dead. Even these mighty rulers of the underworld were not immune to his music. As Orpheus sang of his love for Eurydice, of their brief happiness, and his unbearable loss, Persephone began to cry. She remembered her own story of being taken from the world above. Hades, who had never shown mercy to any mortal, felt his cold heart stir. The god of the dead was moved by this display of love that transcended death itself. Here was a mortal willing to face the ultimate taboo, to enter the realm of the dead while still alive, all for love. "Very well," Hades declared, his voice echoing through the caverns of the dead. "You may have Eurydice back, but there is one condition, and it is absolute. You must walk ahead of her as you leave my realm. You cannot look back at her, not even once, until you both reach the world of the living. If you turn around, she returns to me forever." Orpheus agreed without hesitation. What was one simple rule compared to having his beloved back? He heard Eurydice's footsteps behind him as they began their journey upward. Her presence filled him with joy he hadn't felt since her death. But as they climbed through the winding passages toward the light, doubt began to creep into Orpheus's mind. He couldn't hear her voice. What if Hades had tricked him? What if it wasn't really Eurydice following behind? What if she was struggling and needed his help? The silence behind him became deafening. His divine senses, usually so acute, seemed muffled in this place between life and death. Every step toward the surface felt like an eternity. The weight of uncertainty grew heavier than any burden. As they approached the entrance to the cave, sunlight began to filter down. Orpheus could see the world of the living just ahead. Safety was mere steps away, but the doubt had become unbearable. In a moment of weakness, of very human insecurity, he turned around. There she was, Eurydice, beautiful and real, reaching toward him with love in her eyes, but even as he saw her, she began to fade like morning mist. "Farewell," she whispered, her voice already growing distant. "I forgive you." And she was gone. This time, forever. Orpheus tried to follow her back into the underworld, but Charon refused him passage. The dead are allowed only one exception, and Orpheus had wasted his. He wandered the earth for years afterward, his music now filled with such profound sadness that no one could bear to hear it. Eventually, Orpheus was torn apart by the Maenads, followers of Dionysus who were enraged by his eternal mourning for another. But even in death, his head continued to sing as it floated down the river. The gods, moved by his tragic story, placed his lyre among the stars as the constellation Lyra. This myth resonates across centuries because it captures something essentially human. Love makes us capable of incredible feats, but it also makes us vulnerable to doubt and fear. Orpheus had literally moved heaven and hell with his devotion, yet he couldn't conquer his own uncertainty. The story explores themes that remain relevant today. How do we balance faith with doubt? Can love truly conquer death? What happens when our greatest strengths become our greatest weaknesses? Orpheus's tale has inspired countless artists, from ancient Greek pottery to modern films and songs. It reminds us that the most powerful force in the universe, love, often comes with the highest price. Sometimes, the very depth of our caring becomes the source of our downfall. In the end, Orpheus's story isn't just about a musician who lost his wife. It's about the human condition itself, about our eternal struggle between hope and fear, faith and doubt, love and loss. It teaches us that even the gods can be moved by genuine emotion, but that being human means sometimes failing at the moments that matter most. The next time you doubt yourself in a crucial moment, remember Orpheus. Sometimes the greatest tragedies come not from external forces, but from the very human tendency to look back when we should keep moving forward.